And then I'm going to hit share screen so that you can all see this lovely little PowerPoint. Okay. Share screen. Okay. All right, can you all see that? Epigenetic emotions behind viral infections.
Yep.
Clearing the emotional fears behind this pandemic. So it's been fascinating to me over the years to, as I said earlier, study with Dr. Lipton and really start to understand the science. And Anne Louise Gittleman, who's one of the most renowned figures in the holistic health world, wrote an article recently called The New Rules of Health, where she shows us how our genes are not our destiny. And I like how she puts it. She says, the new rules of health are based on the foundational belief that DNA is not predetermined. DNA is really controlled by environmental influences that include diet, exercise, supplements, social support, and even our feelings and thoughts. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the quantum physics leader in cellular biology, proved that it is the environment, not the DNA, which determines health or disease. And when we say he proved it, he actually proved it scientifically in the laboratory, that genes do not have brains to turn themselves on and off. They don't have on and off switches. So it has to be the environment that they exist in that turns them on or off. And that's where the emotions come in. Many of us are now coming to understand that physical symptoms and illnesses often begin first in the emotional and mental bodies. Put simply, we are not just a physical body. We each have an aura of subtle bodies, including the etheric, mental, emotional, astral, and causal. Our Western system of allopathic medicine can offer emergency life-saving surgeries as well as subdue and control symptoms, yet the root cause is often not addressed. And that's why this piece that we're dealing with right now is so critically and vitally important, because right now we have a world full of people who are so used to calling the doctor and getting a pill or taking a vaccine or getting a shot to get something fixed, and it doesn't exist. So I think it's very exciting to know that there are things that we can do for ourselves by supporting our immune systems and looking at our emotions, because those emotions actually trigger chemical reactions that set off stimulus in the environment that can turn these genes on or off. So the question isn't whether we're going to get exposed to it. The question is, how healthy are we going to be when we get exposed to it? So because our emotions and thoughts are energy, if they're not expressed in motion, they can become stuck in the body, causing a block in energy flow. Much of this stuck energy is actually what I refer to as ancestral emotional DNA. Science has now shown us that it is not the physical DNA that creates disease, rather it's the environment that the DNA exists in. Our emotions impact that DNA dramatically by setting off a chemical reaction that can turn on or turn off the gene. So that's key, that's vital, that's important. And when we talk about ancestral emotional DNA, it's not just what you've experienced in this lifetime, it's the emotional components, beliefs, subconscious programs that your parents had, that your grandparents had. All of that behaviorally got passed on to you, just like your physical DNA did. So if we can shift those parts of us, and we can't change the physical itself, the physical exists, it's part of what we physically inherited, but we can consciously choose to change the emotional components and the subconscious beliefs. And here's just a really short little 4-minute YouTube from Dr. Lipton that I think really explains it well.
The new science says, no, it wasn't the genes. It was the way we learned how to live our lives. And that's where the parents come in. Because a child learns how to handle life, how to live life by observing the parents' behavior and then becoming just like the parents. And when we do that, when we take our parents' behavior, we get our parents' diseases. So the exciting part about the new science says, before we blame the cells, first look at our thoughts and our beliefs and our behaviors, because these are more important in creating health and disease than are the genes. And this means personal responsibility. And a lot of people get very upset when I say that, because it says, yes, you are creating this life. And then they get sometimes upset because they say, they review their life and they said, I was responsible for this illness or this problem and all that. And they feel very uncomfortable and they don't want to be responsible. And then they get mad at me when I say that. But then I say, no. The words guilt, shame, victim, blame, these words, which make people feel very bad, do not apply to the science for a simple reason. If I never told you how it works, I never showed you how life works correctly, and I just teach you incorrectly, then what happens to your life isn't, you didn't do that. That wasn't your intention. That you just didn't know how to operate the biology. So if you don't know how to operate it and something goes wrong and it doesn't work right, I can't blame you and say that was your fault. The only time I can do that is once you know how it works, become responsible to make sure you do it right. So the past is history. The past, whatever happened, we have no responsibility for because no one told us. The future is when we have responsibility. But that's when it gets very exciting, because when people do know how to make it work, then disease will disappear. War will disappear. Health, harmony, a garden will come back to this planet. So that's why this new science is so important, because it gives us back a power. We're not victims of our lives. We are masters, because we can change our thoughts and we can change our behavior and we can change our beliefs. And when we change them, we change our biology. So we are the masters of our lives, not the victims of our genes. Started to laugh because I said, people think when we die, we go someplace to heaven. And I realized the first time in my life, this is heaven. This is where you get to create. This is where you get to have all the wonderful experiences of life. When you leave here, you leave with the memory, but not the ability to create and not the ability to sense. And so the greatest joy came to me because I said, well, if this is heaven, then I'm going to stop living in hell and turn it into what I want. And for me, I've created from that change of my belief, a life, the former life is gone. The current life, a life of joy, health, happiness, and beauty, because I know I am creating it. And this is why we are here. So I hope everyone can get that, because if everyone creates heaven on earth, then by definition, the whole earth turns into what we call heaven.
So let's create heaven on earth. Doesn't that sound wonderful? We have that ability. And, you know, just us being here today, we have the ability to impact a lot of people. Because as we heal ourselves, we're healing others at the same time. So when I do these epigenetic prescriptions with people, what I do is I actually start with looking at what's behind, what are the emotions behind a virus, or behind heart disease, or behind dementia. So let's just look for a minute at pneumonia as a virus, because that's a big part of what's going on with COVID-19 right now. It's really the pneumonia piece of it and the lung piece that we need to look at to get to the emotional root cause. So in the case of pneumonia, an inflammation of the lungs by infectious germs, the tension is associated to a feeling provoked by serious external aggression, extremely painful. And it also shows that the person has no defenses of his own. They're walking around saying things like, or feeling things like, I need to be protected. Who will protect me? I have a serious communication problem. I cannot make myself understood. I am not understood. Who will protect me and understand my suffering? Now I have to tell you that as we're going through this, you really need to keep in mind, as I'm reading these words, if it's not something that resonates with you consciously, don't be surprised, because a lot of this is internal beliefs that we have no conscious awareness that we're actually dealing with. So the exciting part of us doing this together here today is that we can actually look at what those emotions are and clear it, so that we make sure that it's offline, and that when should we contract or come into contact with someone who has COVID-19, we don't have to think about it, because we've done the work emotionally to clear it out of our system so we don't trigger it. So the emotions that are generally running in our subconscious program before pneumonia actually takes hold in one's physical body are overall unhealed emotional wounds. Now, I've been doing epigenetics prescriptions for people for about 5 years. I have never seen one particular illness that said unhealed emotional wounds as a collective. So this is huge. And to be honest with you, we have a world of people out there who have unhealed emotional wounds. Many of you on this call tonight are healers. Many of you are light workers. And you know, we've done our emotional healing work, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the world actually has. So another one of the emotions, feeling desperate or hopeless. A third one is feeling exhausted, simply drained of all energy, strength, or desire. A feeling of physical or emotional fatigue. And then feeling imbalanced, just feeling emotional disturbances and a lack of peace and steadiness. The oils I have listed here we'll go over a little bit more in depth as we go forward into this. But those are the 4 primary things we want to be looking at. Unhealed emotional wounds, feeling desperate and hopeless, just drained and exhausted, and emotionally imbalanced. So when we think about those emotions, I want you to ask yourself these questions. What emotional wounds are ready to be healed? What scares you about expressing what you feel? What will it take to create balance in your life? What are you trying to protect yourself from? What will it take for you to process the harm you experienced in the past? What will it take for you to honor yourself? What will it take for you to assign greater value to your own needs, wants, and desires? What do you perceive that you have lost? What voices are you actually listening to? Are these voices of light and good, or are they the news media and fear? Do you need to process through a trauma, or are you ready to move forward? Those are all questions that when asked honestly can help you move through some of these emotional patterns. And you may be impacted by one of them, or a handful of them, or none of them, at least consciously. You just want to make sure that you aren't carrying them. That's the key. You want to make sure that you're not carrying them right now. So when we look at lung problems in general, lung issues are often caused by a feeling that we do not have the right to live life fully. People with respiratory problems have difficulty living life, protecting themselves from the exterior, or even expressing themselves in the presence of people who assault them. Lung-related tensions are thus connected to the feeling of being assaulted by someone and simultaneously connected to the fear of death, whether that's a physical death or the end of a cycle. It may just be the fear of losing a relationship. And when we say the end of a cycle, we're really at the end of a cycle right now of our world being the way it used to be. Things will go back to normal, but it will be a new normal. It's not going to be the world as we knew it. This is impacting us on such a dramatic level globally that I think you're going to see changes that you never expected to see. And to me, the exciting part of it, the really exciting part of this, is that it's happening and it's going to happen fast. I mean, the type of changes that we're going to witness from having gone through this are changes that it could have taken a decade to get through. And they're going to happen in a mere matter of months. Look at just how much has happened simply in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I assure you, I probably wouldn't have chosen to move right at this moment in time if I had known this was coming. And I can bet that every one of us could say there's things we might have been doing differently if we thought this was going to be sprung upon us. But alas, we didn't know. So I want to stress again that what we mean by attack is not something objective. Refer to what the person felt as being a form of attack. So it's not even necessarily being physically attacked, but a fear of being attacked. So emotions behind lung issues and the oils that help each. When we're looking at those emotions that trigger lung issues, there's three primary ones. And they're a little bit different than pneumonia, so I thought it really important that we look at them separately. One is grief, one is feeling betrayed, and the third one is a feeling of unworthiness. And I have to just stop here and say that recently I taught a full-day workshop on self-love. And when everybody got there and we started the workshop, I announced that the focus was going to be on self-love. They knew that it was going to be a deep dive. They didn't know what it was going to be a deep dive into. And so many of them looked at me and went, oh, I love myself. I certainly love myself. Well, I assure you, we weren't even an hour in to that class. And everyone was having aha moments and realizing how many places in their life they weren't loving themselves. And often that's a ramification of feeling unworthy for whatever reason. It's just a feeling of unworthiness. So again, we'll look at the actual oils as we move forward here a little bit, but think about grieving, betrayed, and unworthiness. Those are all things we want to make sure we get offline. So when we're looking at these lung issues, ask yourself these questions. Do I feel suffocated by a life event? Am I safe to take in life? Am I safe to take in life? Again, consciously, you may answer these one way, but subconsciously could be a whole different story. And so I ask you, after we get done here today, to really think about a lot of these questions in more depth and more detail. And if you don't have time to keep up with the notes on this and you want me to send you any of this information, just feel free to reach out and ask. So just for a minute right now, I'd like you to just close your eyes as we're going to just visualize for a moment. As you close your eyes, I just want you to imagine that kind hands are placed over your heart to hold you and to heal you. I want you to imagine that your heart is being renewed. I want you to imagine identifying and sending gratitude to your inner voice. I want you to see light and love, steady and comforting, surrounding your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul. See yourself removing protective gear from your body. And imagine restorative light and love surrounding you now. Imagine fresh wind blowing new life over you, clearing out the old dead things and filling your lungs with new hope for the future. Imagine that you're surrounded by throngs of angels. Imagine that you're surrounded by only love and light. And realize that your imagination is even more potent than your conscious mind. And as you're calming yourselves, a healing is taking place. You're setting off a chemical reaction of chemicals that are filled with healing energy. You're letting go of fear and replacing it with love. And love is and always will be all there really is. So I encourage you, not just today, but every day, to remember that you can close your eyes and you can go into this space of feeling surrounded by angels, of feeling surrounded by love, of feeling surrounded by only health and well-being. Because what we focus on is always what we attract more of. Get into alignment, the alignment of health, the alignment of well-being, and so it shall be. And then when you feel ready, you can gradually take some clearing breaths and bring yourself back to the present moment and back to this room. And we're going to look at some what I refer to as epigenetic remedies. Things that we can do that actually help us clear beliefs. And the first three, aromatherapy, art, and sound healing, all of those work on a subconscious level. All you need to do is breathe in an essential oil and it will have an impact on you emotionally. All you have to do is look at a piece of art and it changes your physiological state. And all you have to do is hear specific sounds and it's working. All three of those are working at subconscious levels without you even being aware of it. And the beauty of that is that we can go in and we can actually use those three tools to break up subconscious programs. Whether you're consciously aware you have them, whether you think you have them or don't, whether you're not sure, we can use all three of those tools to break up those patterns. And then once those patterns have been broken up, Then we can use affirmations. Affirmations are amazing healing tools, but the key is until the old beliefs are cleared, they're in there and they're conflicting with the new affirmations and the new patterns. So why I like to use those first three tools first. So let's just go take a deep dive into this a little bit more and think about art as an emotional healing tool. According to the Art as a Healing Force organization, when a person experiences art, the body's physiology changes from one of stress to one of deep relaxation, from one of fear to one of creativity and inspiration. Both art and music put a person in a different brainwave pattern. Art and music affect a person's autonomic nervous system, their hormonal balance, and their brain neurotransmitters. Further research tells us neurophysiologists have shown that art, prayer, and healing all come from the same source in the body. They all are associated with similar brainwave patterns, mind-body changes, and they all are deeply connected in feeling and meaning. Art, prayer, and healing all take us into our inner world, the world of imagery and emotion, of visions and feelings. The whole idea behind the infusion of art or music into one's world is that it brings the observer into the present moment. There is nothing else that matters except the joy of this experience. It takes our cares away. It puts our fears on hold. And for that moment in time, nothing else matters. Those feelings take us out of the limiting beliefs of the subconscious into our conscious mind of pure potentiality where anything is possible. And this is the emotional state from which healing can begin. What I think is absolutely wonderful and fascinating is that hospitals all over the world are incorporating music and art into patient care. Doctors, nurses, and therapists are now working with artists and musicians to heal people of all ages with many conditions, including cancer and AIDS. Jean Pierre, a researcher from Temple University, tells us this: now everybody understands that cancer is as much, if not more, epigenetic than genetic. I love that she said that, and I only wish that more and more people would know this and be able to start embracing it. And perhaps what we're going through right now is a time in history where people will. Medicine can do extraordinary things today. With the arts, it can do more. And this was Jill Sankey, the director of the University of Florida Center for Arts and Medicine. There's a quote from her recent TEDx event. Medicine can do extraordinary things today. With the arts, it can do more. So put simply, art changes us. As art and healing merge, the field of art will be changed, and the field of medicine will be changed forevermore. These particular pieces of art, from left to right, are the Inner Peace Angel, the Emotional Healing Angel, the Divine Love Angel, and the Angel of Hope. They're the four pieces that are actually energetically encoded with the ability to help break up those emotional patterns that these two areas of illness, being pneumonia and lung issues, the two main parts of the coronavirus. So inner peace, oh my goodness, how many of us couldn't use inner peace right now? every time you turn on Facebook, not even just the TV, but Facebook or email, everywhere you look, that's all you see. And it's hard not to let it sink in. It's hard not to have it have some kind of an impact. So experiencing inner peace through this angel is exceptionally potent. You know, I started all this 15 years ago, all of this art, I should say. And I was divinely guided to do it. And I was divinely advised that it was encoded with emotional healing energy that was designed to heal people at a deep soul, emotional heart level. And back then, no one was talking about epigenetics. So back then, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I just kept doing it because I couldn't not, because I kept getting guidance to do it. Now today, I have eons and eons of stories about the impact this art has had on hundreds, if not thousands, of people's lives. And emotional healing. So we found out that one of the biggest parts behind all of this is unresolved emotions. So the emotional healing angel, the second one, is designed specifically to work on emotional healing at every level. You know, with all due love and respect, I think women today have done much more emotional healing than men. But over the years, as I would be exhibiting around the country and displaying this art, men would walk into my booth, point to that particular angel, and hand me their American Express card. They had no idea what it was, no idea how much it cost. All they knew was they were drawn to it and they needed it. And that's always made my heart smile, because I always knew the impact it was going to have was going to be so profound. And they didn't need to know the who, what, when, and where, or why. They just needed to experience it. And then we have the divine love angel. My dear friend Anna has the original. Hi, Anna. Glad you could join us. So it's all about self-love. It's all about realizing and understanding that love is what we all are. And that's so important, as we want to strengthen that within our conscious and subconscious minds right now. And then the fourth one is the angel of hope. And goodness gracious, if I leave you with nothing else today, let it be that I leave you with hope. So we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into this art in a little bit. But I just wanted to share those with you. And let's take a moment to look at sound healing. And for these epigenetic prescriptions, what I have really loved working with are the solfeggio frequencies, which are a series of 6 electromagnetic musical tones that the Gregorian monks were said to use when they chanted in meditation. They were rediscovered in 1974 by Dr. Joseph Puloho. The solfeggio frequencies are said to deeply penetrate the conscious and subconscious mind, stimulating inner healing. Dr. Puloho was intuitively led to rediscover these healing frequencies in the Book of Numbers, a book in the Hebrew Bible, using a numerological technique to decipher the 6 repeating codes he found. The result was the rediscovery of these frequencies. What's even more fascinating is that physicist, inventor, and electrical engineer Nikola Tesla once said, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would hold a key to the universe." Interestingly, these 3 numbers form the root vibration of all 6 of these solfeggio frequencies. Now, when I was first exposed to these, it was actually, again, my dear friend Anna, I love you, honey, who shared them with me. And she gave me a CD with one particular frequency on it, and I took it home. And it was from a company called Whole Tones, and it was only 22 minutes. But I let this thing hit repeat for about 4 or 5 times. So I was listening to it for like an hour, hour and a half. Had no idea, had not experienced these before. So I'm like, okay, I like the sound. It sounded good. Well, lo and behold, I woke up that night at like 3 in the morning, and I thought I was having the worst gallbladder attack. Now, I had no symptoms of having any gallbladder dysfunction before that. I had no reason to believe that I should be having a gallbladder attack. It wasn't like I had just eaten some really fatty foods or something like that. I mean, there was nothing logical. And all of a sudden, as I'm sitting there holding my side, thinking, "Oh, should I go to urgent care? What should I do?" I remembered that I had listened to that CD, and I had had it on repeat for an hour and a half. And so I went and picked up the cover of the CD, and sure enough, that was the solfeggio frequency that actually worked on gallbladder issues. OMG. I am telling you, be gentle with these. That's all I can say, because they're very, very, very powerful. So in reviewing the emotions that are often lying in the subconscious when pneumonia or lung issues arise, there are actually 2 specific solfeggio tones that I would recommend for this type of emotional clearing. One is 396, which is utilized to transform grief into joy and guilt into forgiveness. The other is a little bit more universal. It's the tone 417, which clears negativity and removes subconscious blockages. 417 is one of the beautiful solfeggio frequencies, which is known to wipe out all the negativity inside of us. It's a frequency that can bring change. It marks the start of new beginnings in life, and it's so powerful that it can reverse and undo negative emotions. So today, as we move into the more experiential portion of this, that's the frequency we're going to be working with. And then the one that I would recommend to actually clear physical toxins is 741. It physically cleanses the body from all types of toxins. And what is a germ but a physical toxin? So what I'm leaning towards saying is it feels to me like 741 is helpful if you've been out in a physical, if you've gone grocery shopping, if you've been exposed to a bunch of people. I mean, right now I know a lot of us are hunkering down and staying home, so it's not as important. And certainly anybody that has been exposed to the virus, that would be one that I would recommend to help. Now, as I'm going to say this once, if I don't say it at least 10 times, I am not saying that doing this work is going to actually heal or prevent disease. I'm just saying your best offense is a good defense. So clearing up the subconscious and making sure that you're not resonating with these particular emotional components and limiting beliefs is going to be a step towards enhancing your immune system and helping your body to fight off anything it comes into contact with, including this global pandemic. So the third aspect, as I mentioned earlier, is aromatherapy. Our sense of smell is more powerful than we think it to be, and it has great influence over our thoughts, emotions, moods, behaviors, and memories. The sense of smell varies greatly from other senses that the human body possesses. Scents that we inhale are processed through a completely different pathway. Before they reach the brain, they travel through other regions of the body, notably areas controlling memory and emotions. Essential oil molecules stimulate the limbic system of the brain, or the emotional brain. Essential oils extracted from different parts of plants are extremely volatile in nature. This makes them easy to inhale and allows you to exploit the olfactory power of plants for healing, including the removal of toxins, oxygenating of cells, and the opening of emotionally stored memory. I can't express that enough. Aromatherapy is by no means a miracle cure for grave emotional issues, but countless studies suggest that they do help relieve particular emotional issues and emotional states. Careful and proper use of essential oils can go a long way in balancing your emotional health. And when we're looking again at those emotions, the top 4 being for pneumonia, the bottom 3 being the ones that are often on board when someone develops a lung issue, I've listed the essential oils that actually trigger those emotional patterns. Now, doTERRA happens to be the company that I use, so some of these are blends that doTERRA has. And I've highlighted here the ones that are showing up more than once. Breathe is designed specifically to help open our airways, but it's also designed to help heal the emotional wounds, such as feelings of emotional exhaustion and grief. So even if we weren't looking at a virus like this that impacts the lungs, if we were just looking at someone who was grieving the loss of anything, Breathe is an essential oil that's phenomenal for that. In addition, they say for grief, deep blue and geranium. And then we go to betrayal, and we see geranium again, along with Lang Lang. And it's interesting because I'm thinking of the first time I smelled geranium and I didn't like it. And often if you don't like it, that means you really need it. And when I think back to that time, there was actually something going on that I was feeling a little betrayed. So it's fascinating to play with these and experience different things as a result. So for feelings of unworthiness, we want to look at bergamot and copaiba, 2 very powerful oils. And then for all unhealed emotional wounds, Breathe, Lang Lang, geranium, rose, another blend called Align, jasmine, and holiday joy. I think that's interesting that the oils that are in the blend for holiday joy will actually heal unhealed emotional wounds. Because when we're getting together with our families at the holidays, that brings up a lot of those old wounds and patterns. For feelings of hopelessness or desperation, we have bergamot. For feelings of exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, we have Breathe, Citrus Bliss, and Past Tense. And for emotional imbalance, we have Serenity, Citrus Bliss, and Past Tense. Now, for the sake of this experience here tonight, you just have to energetically breathe into those oils and take them in energetically, since we don't yet have the ability to, we can see each other, we can hear each other, but we don't yet have the ability to actually smell things through this technology. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to just have you sit back and relax and enjoy listening to the 417 solfeggio tone while you're looking at those 4 angels. And I'm going to tell you that when it comes to these epigenetic prescriptions, I'm just going to give you a little scenario before we start. I was working with a gal in Paris via Zoom, and right before I met her, she had been diagnosed with a very, very serious autoimmune issue. And she wanted to better understand my work because she was going to actually help me create my website. And so we did an epigenetic prescription around that specific autoimmune issue. And lo and behold, her doctor had told her that she'd have to be on these very, very heavy meds for about a year. Well, 6 months after we did the epigenetic prescription and she started using the oils and she started listening to the solfeggio tones and she worked with the art, and then she started using the affirmations. 6 weeks later, she went back to her doctor and he reduced her meds by 50%. The same meds that she was supposed to be on for an entire year. And it was shortly thereafter, I want to say within 6 months, she was off all of it. So it was so amazing and so wonderful and so fascinating. So I have to get out of the big screen to get to the solfeggio tones. Okay. There we go. So hopefully you can hear this really well. I love it. Okay. We'll stop the share for just a minute. Sorry about that. It's hard to manipulate all these forms of communication simultaneously. Let's just make sure that we don't have any more Michael Bublé by getting out of that. And get back to where we were. All right. Bear with me, you guys. I'm still here. I just have to figure out how to minimize this screen and get back to my Zoom screen. Oh, dear heavens. I think I'm in an altered state from all of that. What was that like for you guys? Okay. My escape button isn't working. I'll just quit that. Infinite love and gratitude. Why can I not get this page to minimize? So anybody want to share what that experience was like for them while we're trying to get this to do what it's supposed to do? Anna, did you want to share what you posted about the 417 solfeggio tone?
Can I talk?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Oh, okay. Well, I use some of that in my healing work too. So I have this chart that I use to see what people might need to balance, and that was just some of the notes that I had on 417 also. So 417 brings about change by producing energy. It helps to cleanse traumatic experiences, which I would venture to say this is kind of traumatic.
Yes, I would agree.
Like, I've been in the house for the last couple of days, like, I don't know what day it is. Like, I think I know what day it is, but by the end of the day, I'm not really sure what day it was. So I'm glad you texted me, because I like forgot all about like what I was even doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
And then I had to really get my head, okay, now how do I find how to get on this Zoom thing? Like, I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I've been focused on, food,
Yeah.
getting food, making food, more. It's like this balance between the physical and the spiritual. And I can feel like, all of us who are here are, light workers, and like, this is our time to step in, because this is our gig right here to pull us all through on a spiritual level, because everybody's getting put down. Their vibrations can take in these higher level energies, because we're all slowed down in a big way, whereas all this chaotic, frenetic energy that we're always in all the time, trying to get everything done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Has, is just, it's just a whole different ballgame when you're used to being busy. And I guess I can kind of keep myself busy in my apartment all day, but I get caught between being a little bored and like, wow, I have so much I can do. I can clean closets, I can read all my books, I can do my clearing, I can meditate, I can jump on my trampoline. And I guess there is no such thing as bored, because there's always something to do if you put your mind to it. But it's a matter of really focusing right now. What are we focusing on? Are we focusing on, oh my God, there's no toilet paper? Or, can we be focused on other things? And it makes that potential fear, panic of lack, we're not going to have enough of everything that we need. And when you're not doing much, you don't need that much food.
There's that, right? Absolutely.
Burning it up, but
no. Very true. And it's interesting. Robin said there is no escape. So I was trying to escape from that. I couldn't, right? None of us can escape from this right now.
No.
It's here, it's real, and it's impacting all of us. And again, Robin said she keeps getting that it's time to step up, meaning that light workers need to be the grounding calm, the beacon in the storm. And absolutely, because Anna, I don't think you were on when I said this earlier, but before we started the recording, I was sharing with people that I always know when something is of utmost importance to get out to the world, because I end up having more glitches throughout the day as I'm putting it together than you can imagine. And part of our technology challenge here this evening is that I'm doing this in Keynote as opposed to PowerPoint, and I've never used Keynote before. So, but I was like, I am not giving up. I am not giving up. I am not giving up. I've got this. I'm doing this. It's happening. And so when it was 6:30 and I hadn't taken a shower yet, I went, okay, go put on some makeup and put your hair up and smile, and it's all good. You know, it didn't matter, right? That's one of the things of physical distancing. We don't have to worry if we've taken a shower or not, as long as we look good. Like I said earlier, we don't have that sense of smell via Zoom yet. So, oh, anyway, bless all your hearts. So now that we've cleared a bunch of stuff, and I feel like a little ungrounded from that. That was pretty potent, watching those pieces of art and listening to that solfeggio tone. So now we can look at what are some of the affirmations that would be helpful for us. So if I start my share screen again, let's see if we can get this to work for us. I'm sure we can. Okay, there we go. Let's look at the affirmations that are helpful for the emotional components that come up when we look at lung issues. It's taking a little bit longer to load, but there we go. I am now finding new hope each day. I can now allow grace to carry me. I am now covered in peace and protection. I now allow divine love to be forever by my side. I was born with intrinsic worth and value. I now reject belittling thoughts about myself. And we look at the affirmations that would be poignant for the emotions that may be on board when we develop a situation like pneumonia. We have, I am now perfectly supported in every moment. I am open to trusting that I am safe to be me. I freely take in divine ideas that are filled with the breath and the intelligence of life. I believe this next one should say, I am so cherished, valued, and worthy of love, time, and attention. I am now allowed to listen to and follow my inner voice. This guides me to what is right for me. There is now hope, bringing light upon my path. Good things are now in store for me.
You know, I think those are just pretty interesting because, you know, the people who are having the most serious conditions, you know, and end up in the hospital on a ventilator, they are supported, like their breath is supported.
Right, right. But it's almost as if they had to act out physically.
Right, right,
Support because they didn't have the internal belief.
right. So I just think that's pretty cool.
Isn't it fascinating? You guys, I was like on cloud 9 all week as I was pulling together all these different pieces because I'm like, this puzzle makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes so much sense. And, you know, you can also add your own affirmations to this, but these are just some of them that I came up with as I was piecing this all together. So, follow up self-care. Do those affirmations. If you want me to email them to you, I'll be happy to do that.
Please.
Yes, I'll just email them to the whole group. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. So solfeggio tones. When we're looking at solfeggio tones, you can go onto YouTube and you will find solfeggio tones. You can find 741, 396, and 417. You can find them all out there. You'll often find what we just listened to was from whole tones. And Michael Terrell, that he's the musician that put those together. And those are all 22 minutes each. You can go to his website and buy the entire set, I think for $99. Or you can go onto YouTube and find YouTubes that will have the solfeggio tones. You can find YouTube ones that will play for 8 hours that you could listen to subliminally in your sleep. Now, I haven't done that, but remember what I said earlier. These are powerful. Michael's are, the gentleman from Whole Tones. I don't know what it would be like. Maybe the ones that are on YouTube that are an hour long or 8 hours long aren't as intensely potent. Like maybe you need more time to get through it all. I'm not sure. Just forewarned is forearmed, and play with it and experience it and pay attention and notice what's coming up for you. Another site, lonerwolf.com/solfeggio frequencies, has a lot of really good information about the solfeggio tones.
I have a question.
Yes.
As I'm just learning about these, is there a place that you can learn more about them? Only because like my husband has a leg issue, or we're not really sure what's going on. Something he could listen to. If 417 probably would work, but if there was something more geared towards that where I could learn more about it.
Right.
Yeah, I think if you go on wholetones.com, you can, I think he has, well, I had gotten a CD set, but I think he has like a little gizmo now that has all the tones in it, like a little device, almost like a little speaker, but it has all the tones in it now. And you get a booklet and it will give you some of this information.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
And I think if you just, if you start Googling solfeggio frequencies.
Probably.
Yes. And the lonerwolf.com has a lot of information on that site as well.
Okay, thanks. I just know sometimes you go to one site and it's not very good and others are better, so.
Yeah, these were the two sites that I found the most information on, so.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. And then as far as essential oils, I know a number of you probably have your own accounts with doTERRA. Excellent. You can go on and order them yourselves. For those of you who don't, you can order online at this link, which I'll also include in the email. Or you can just send me an email request and say, Lori, I'm interested in bergamot and breathe and lang lang or whatever it is. And I can order them for you as well. I do recommend making sure that it's a top grade essential oil. Right now, we don't want to be having anything but the best. As far as the art, if you're interested, I'm offering these 4 pieces as downloadable versions that you can print on your own computers for $9.99 each, or you can get the entire set of 4 for $19.99. They are available as matted prints, but as matted prints, they're $49.99 each. So if you want them immediately and you want to download them, I can, for $9.99 or $19.99 for the set, I'm happy to get those links out to you as well. And then I do epigenetic prescriptions for people. They're very, very, very in-depth sessions. The complete one is an ancestral emotional DNA program where we look at your grandparents and the emotions, or actually we look at the disease patterns that they had, and then we find the emotional stew that they raised your parents in, because those emotions had to be on board to create the environment that created those diseases. And then we look at your parents and what disease patterns they might have or had, and what emotions had to be on board for those to manifest. And then we know the emotional stew that you were raised in, and then we can, if it's already manifested, we can work on an epigenetic emotional prescription to help you eliminate those things. And if you haven't contracted any of the same ailments as them, which a lot of you probably haven't because you've done so much emotional healing work, we can actually look at, what do we need to do to make sure you got it all cleared out, so that you don't have any any of that to deal with. Even though you have the physical DNA, you won't have that emotional DNA to deal with. Or if you just want a mini session, which is just you personally, those can be done for just $249, where we're just looking at what's gone on for you as far as physical ailments, and find the emotional components behind them, and then come up with the oils and the solfeggio tones and the art that will help you heal them, and we'll come up with some personalized affirmations for you as well. And all of that is available at my Head to Heart Healing website, headtohearthealing.com/epigeneticrix. And last but not least, please, 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 please take care of yourselves. And tonight, when we get off of this call, please drink lots of fluids. And I should have said drink lots of water, but I figured since you're all mostly healers, you'd know that. You've processed a lot, whether you know it or not, you've processed a lot. So get plenty of rest. You may feel very tired after this. So go to bed after you drink at least a full glass of water and get some rest. And then tomorrow, the next day, next week, whatever, reach out to me. I am here. I am only a text, an email, a phone call away. I want to help you guys. I want us to all get through this together. I absolutely, positively want to help us all get through this together. I want us to stay healthy. As I said earlier, most of us all on this call are light workers. We've got big work, very big work. We really, really, really have a lot of people to help. And I believe this is a time in history where not only are we going to see the world itself change in many, many areas, from the economy to how we interact with people. I am likening it to what happened around 9/11, where there was just a softening of people's hearts. But the other thing that I think is going to come out of this in the long run, at least my hope and prayer, is that people really, really, really understand that the best offense is a good defense, and that's a healthy immune system. And the immune system itself was designed to handle anything it comes into contact with. When it's operating at an optimal efficiency level, it can keep you healthy. And so that's the main thing. I mean, proper diet, proper exercise, and proper thinking. All three of those are such key components right now. You know, I think back to 20 years ago, right before I started on this adventure in health and wellness and spiritual healing and things like that. I met someone who had done some deep research, and what he shared with me has always stuck in my mind. And he said that when was it World War II, when we actually came up with penicillin? We came up with it because we had soldiers dying on the battlefield. We needed to do something because they're out there and they're getting sick. So we come up with penicillin. Well, penicillin kind of was the forerunner of the entire pharmaceutical industry. And Louis Pasteur and Harvey Bernard argued for 4 decades. And they couldn't agree. One said, it's not the germ, it's the environment. And the other one said, no, you're wrong. It is the germ that impacts the environment. And they argued and they argued and they argued. And Pasteur looked at his friend on his deathbed and said, I was wrong, you were right. It's not the germ. It is the environment. The environment meaning, of course, the immune system. But here we were 4 decades into a pharmaceutical industry that today, right now, as we speak, on the 19th of March in 2020, does not have a solution for what we're currently dealing with. You guys, we do have a solution. It's in our bodies, it's in our hearts, and it's in our minds. And we need to share this with everyone we know. My entire body has consciousness bumps and goosebumps all over it right now. I know this in my heart and my soul, that if we can wake up enough people to this information right now, we can change health and wellness, not just in this country, but globally. And to me, what a gift. You know, sometimes from the most traumatic situations come the greatest gifts. And as our dear beloved friend, Dr. Darren Weissman would say, we've got to find the gift in strange wrapping paper right now. So let that be it. And let us all stay healthy and help everyone we know to stay healthy as well. At least those who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. So with that, I just want to open it up for questions, comments. You guys are all amazing, incredible people and healers yourself. And I'd love to hear from you if you have anything to add.
Well, I think that there's a lot of creativity that's going to start happening. There are a lot of smart, I think we have to remember there are a lot of smart scientists, a lot of smart doctors. I just feel like it might be even some kid prodigy that has an epiphany. I mean, if you listen on like America's Got Talent and, these little kids who just like come out of the womb being able to play the piano and just have this inner knowing about things. And I think, something's going to happen. And I think I shared Sylvia Browne's that little blurb from her book that she had predicted a virus or a pandemic of some time in this year, and it's going to leave as soon as it came. And I think somebody's going to discover something, or we are going to be so awesome and just sending all this light and increasing the vibration that if we're up here and the virus is down here, we can't.
Vibrational match.
Yeah, we're not a vibrational match for that frequency. So that's all it is. If we can kind of get ourselves out of the Facebook and off the news and remember this is a vibrational frequency and we can rise above that. And doing this work, I thought, gosh, maybe you could have even like created a little video, like scrolling the pictures.
Yeah.
So we can saying the affirmations and breathing our oil. Like it's a lot. I mean, we're engaging all of our senses in that activity. So
yes, I actually was thinking about doing that.
We just didn't have anything to touch.
I don't know how we can.
Well, I guess we just touch ourselves.
Or you can pet a puppy or a kitty.
Right. I don't have a puppy or a kitty.
Well,
I don't have anybody here but me. But yeah, I mean, we can just, touch ourselves, put our hand on our heart or whatever.
Absolutely.
I think what the world needs is just love. I don't think any medicine is going to help us. Medicines typically just lower our vibrations. They tend to not cure, but push down an illness that will come back later because a lot of it's based on emotions. And so, they can come up with a vaccine and people will be sicker in years to come. So it's a mind that has to change in this world. We all have to get out of the do, and we have to get out of our heads and into our hearts, and really realize that our hearts and love can just change the world in so many ways. And that's what it's about. It's not, I need to have so much food. I need to have so much toilet paper. I need all this stuff. As I looked at a pair of shoes today that looked really good. But it's one of those, but it's one of those things that we really have to just go with our hearts. We have to look at our families and how distant we've become. Our friends, somebody was mentioning today that I don't even talk to your neighbors. We don't talk to neighbors like we used to. I truly believe this is the universe, God, whatever your belief is, telling us it's time to slow down and to heal me and to heal ourselves, because the world's just falling apart. We hear about the heat, the climate change and this and that. And we need to look inside ourselves and start doing for others. And so it's all about love.
Well said. Very, very well said.
I couldn't agree more of love.
It's about love.
It's all about love. And I don't believe the world is falling apart. I believe it's coming together with transformation. Change needs to happen. And so if we look at this world as, oh, isn't that interesting how different people react to different things? And if I react to what they're reacting to, I go, oh, what do I need to clear so that I'm not reacting to? And I think those are some amazing posts that people have been putting on Facebook. I mean, I'm not usually on Facebook this much, but it seems to be like the only way to interact with people, that so much information is coming in about the ascension of energies, going to 5D and higher. And I did an activation today. Her name is Meg Benedicte, and she's doing another one on 444, which is April 4th. And she does amazing, amazing work. She works directly with Metatron and Archangel Michael. And what we did today was help to bring the antibody in for the coronavirus and then union them so that it was complete. So it was amazing. It was an amazing activation today. And so it helps you to think outside the normal box of what everyone else is saying when you take part in something different like that. And tonight, learning from Lori, all these different things we can do for ourselves, it's just right on point with everything that's going on. And I really appreciate you, Lori, and all your knowledge and all what you have to share with us. And your artwork is just stunning. I will say at the very beginning, I just felt like the energy was kind of like, I was like falling asleep, but by the end of that thing, it was like, woo, it felt really good. I'm like, why does it feel like I gotta fall asleep?
Yeah.
But I just regret myself, and it feels a lot better now. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's things like that and things like this that could stop this thing in its tracks. Right? I mean, it's the work that we as light workers are doing and will continue to do, that can make a huge difference. We can stop this thing in its tracks. That's kind of exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just so cool to see all of the spiritual folks like doing something, like Meg was doing something, and someone else shared with me today the name of, I can't even think of his name, but he's doing a meditation every morning at 9 o'clock, and Deepak Chopra is, doing something, and Marianne Williamson is doing something, and this technology, we can just reach a whole lot of people without even having to leave our house. So
Right.
it's really cool. So if we can just kind of take advantage of all those things and do your own work and pay attention to what's coming up for you, and
Well, I like the fact that you're seeing so much happening within, just in any realm of that people are really trying to heal. But what it is I find is people are in the comfort of their homes, and that's where we're comfortable. And that's where the love is in most cases. I can't say in every home, because there's some that aren't, but most homes. And so we're not working in that office. You're in office environments, and there's just a lot more love around people, and that comfort. And it changes that stress level. You're also not worried that your boss is going to walk in the door on you because you're doing something. It's changing everybody's stress levels, and I find it amazing. I just think it's incredible, and but yeah, and I thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're so welcome. As is most everything I have done in the last 20 years, it was divinely guided. I literally woke up one day last week and I had this download. You've got to do this epigenetic prescription for the virus, and you've got to put it out on a Zoom, and it's going to be on the 19th, and it's going to be at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be $25. I mean, it was like that clear. It was that clear. It gives goosebumps just thinking about it. So I was thrilled to do it, and fingers crossed. This is I should stop the recording before I tell you guys this. Hang on. Stop.